Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Noelle and today we are talking about plants. So I know that I have taken you through some of my plant collection previously, but today is my watering day and I figured that I should show you my collection which has grown and why I keep plants. So this is my balcony where I keep my plants. I converted this balcony into my little garden space sometime in May or June, I think, of last year. I only really started keeping plants in earnest, I think it was either June or July. Before that, we did have like 2 plants here on the balcony, but they were medicinal herbal plants and I didn't really take care of them. But that all changed when somebody sent me and my sister some cuttings of Pothos, which is a vining plant. And I guess that's where it all started. Now you'll notice that I'm a bit sweaty in this video, and that's because it's the morning, but it's a bit humid because it rained last night. And according to my temperature and humidity sensor, the temperature right now is 31.3 degrees Celsius and the humidity is around 66%. Up here on this particular balcony, this is a west-facing balcony, so it gets lots of afternoon direct sunlight. So temperatures can reach up to about 50 degrees Celsius. At least that's what I recorded here during the summer. And that's not really conducive to too many plants except for maybe a cactus. If you'll notice, I don't really have a lot of succulents and cactus here in this collection. So how did I keep them alive? When I get into something, I get deeply into something. So I really study and try to learn as much as I can and try to solve problems by myself. When I started running, I read up about technique, about training methodologies and all that. With plants, I also read up about all the kinds of things, like how often to water, what kind of soil, how much fertilizer to use, what kind of sunlight. And yeah, I've even gotten to the point where I do have a temperature and humidity sensor so that I know if conditions are optimal for my plants. Now, a lot of the plants that we see as house plants are actually tropical or subtropical, which means that this climate here in the Philippines is perfect for them, except sometimes the sun can be a bit too much. And for the most part, I think that I've succeeded, although I've killed my fair share of plants, to be honest. And so I mentioned in my previous video about becoming a plantita that there are so many benefits to keeping plants. Like for instance, just looking at the color green has been proven in studies to reduce stress in people. And especially given the situation in the world around us, I think we all need to reduce levels of stress. And I do that by taking care of these plants. At the same time, you know, just like when I got my dog and I started taking care of him, I guess there's just part of me that likes taking care of living creatures and, you know, hoping that they will also respond to that care. I don't really aim to sell any of them, so I don't really get any monetary benefit out of keeping plants. But there are things that are important in the world that don't necessarily lead to making money. You know, the thing with plants is they don't really expect anything. What I have here are actually some pretty low maintenance plants because I try to make sure that whatever hobbies I do, they add to my life rather than take over my life. And I think plants are a good medium to that because you can just water them, feed them sometimes, give them enough sunlight, and then you can basically leave them alone. And some plants actually like being left alone better than being handled all the time. Now the funny thing is, as a kind of impatient person, to take up plants as a hobby, it gives a new meaning to the word patience. because you can't hurry a plant up to grow things unless you add chemicals and stuff like that. But yeah, you can't. They have their own time span, and it's not a human time frame. That's been kind of an interesting journey for me. And I think the biggest thing that I can take out of being I don't want to say owner, someone who takes care of plants, is that it brings me into the present moment of just giving the plants what they need at this point and letting the future take care of itself. And so, all that being said, I think it's time to water some plants. So I water my plants at least once a week. For the ones with bigger pots, I probably leave them for about 10 days. But I actually use, where is that thing? I use a moisture probe, which I keep in its original box until I need them. It's a 3-way meter, so it detects moisture, pH, which is soil acidity, and light. So right now it's in the light. It detects light levels, and it's detecting that my balcony has about 500 foot candles. I think that's the term of measurement, which is pretty good for houseplants. It gives them enough energy to grow. So now I've moved it to the moisture part of the probe. If I stick the probe in, the moisture is all the way up. That means there's a lot of moisture in the soil of this pot. This pot has not been watered yet. It was supposed to be a neon pothos, which I bought from Shopee, but as it continued to grow, it started showing variegation, so it's now it's a variegated neon pothos. So yeah, this is the soil probe, goes into the soil, and you will see that the moisture level is all the way down, which means that I need to water it. And I try to water up to the point where some water drips out into the catch basin. There's now water in this basin. My soil mix is quite loose and airy, so it allows water to drop out, but it also retains enough of that moisture so that the plant's roots can access it over the week. So what I have here is, I thought it was a jade pothos, but it turns out it's actually a reverted golden pothos. As I exposed it to more light, it started showing like variegation, which is different colors on the leaves. This is a marble queen pothos, and this is a bit more finicky than the previous one that I was showing you. And that's because the variegation, which is basically this different colors on the leaves, it leaves them a bit more vulnerable to getting burnt by the sun. And as you can see here, this is, yeah, that's sun exposure. It burned, and usually the white parts of the leaves are what truly get burnt. This one is a Monstera Estee Peru, species Peru. So basically, they haven't completed the study on what kind of plant this is. They just know it's from the Monstera genus. And I grew this from 4 leaves, and now it's grown all the way up to the top of its pole. This was a gift from a friend who found out I was getting into plants, and I was like looking into monsteras, and they thought, okay, so here's one to add to your collection. Here's another plant that was a gift. This is a Syngonium, and it started off just being this short, growing up to here, and then it suddenly just vined all the way up to the point where it's now outgrown my foot long pole. This is 1.5 feet, and it's already taller than that. So I'm gonna have to pull it up some more. It's a pretty easy plant to care for. Now this is what they call a Philodendron Orlando, or I guess they call it a golden Ceylon gold, all those sorts of things. I got this at a plant center, and it used to be just one vine, and then I cut it off here because it grew really tall and replanted the other part here. It's looking kind of funky right now because suddenly after I cut the original vine, all sorts of different growths started coming from the stem of the vine. I think it's the same sometimes with people, that you have to prune and then you can experience growth in other places. This one is a Sansevieria. It's supposed to be silver cyan, I think, or it's a silver Sansevieria. And I got it from a neighbor here in the condo complex. This is the original leaf. The roots started rotting, so I had to chop it off and I had to wait for new roots to grow from the leaf, and then I potted it. When you cut the root off a silver cyan Sansevieria, when the roots regrow and then they shoot off into new leaves, the new leaves don't keep the same pattern as the old ones. So it was pretty interesting to see that happening. Yeah, for all of its weird looking flaws, I love this plant still. I think it's a survivor. You know, when people say Monstera, they really think of Monstera Deliciosa, the plant with a lot of holes in the leaves. And they're kind of pricey in the market. I think a plant with several leaves that are fenestrated, the ones with holes, goes for about 1,000 pesos or more. And so instead of that, I got myself some wet sticks, which is like the stem of the Monstera without leaves. And then, you know, I just put them in a pot and waited for them to sprout leaves and roots. And, you know, I did that in December. It's now June, and this is what they look like. Yeah, Monstera Deliciosa have pretty huge leaves. This is the first leaf with a fenestration. The rest of them came out pretty much basic leaf shape. This one has a bit of damage because I left it in the sun for too long and it burnt. But yeah, I'm pretty proud of this one because I grew it from a leafless stem and now it looks like this, and it's an easy plant to take care of as long as you don't overwater it. So I'm looking forward to seeing more leaves and more of these fenestrations. And this pretty plant is a Thai Beauty Caladium, which was a gift to me last Christmas. It looks a little funky now because this is an old leaf that's gonna go. And this is a relatively new big leaf, and it's also shooting out another leaf. So I hope you enjoyed your little look into another side of me, which is my dedication to my plants. I hope that seeing all these plants on your feed has given you a little bit of a de-stress. If this video was entertaining, informative, if it inspired you to pick up a plant, well then just let me know in the comments box below. Please give me a like and subscribe so that I can see you again on my next video. Thanks guys, bye!